Welcome to the Defiant podcast. This week, we're joined by Shaw Walters, the founder of Eliza Labs, which built Eliza OS, an operating system for AI agents. It was one of the top projects at the height of the AI crypto boom in the beginning of the year. We talk about the future of the sector after a steep decline, what Eliza is building, and also Shaw talks about financial nihilism and how the culture in crypto needs to change from mindless gambling meme coins into creating and buying products that people actually want to use. Here we are with Shaw Walters, the founder of Eliza Labs. Shaw, welcome to the Defiant podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Eliza Labs is the builder of Eliza OS, an operating system for autonomous AI agents to interact with blockchains. It's been at the center of the red hot crypto and AI intersection. So yeah, excited to have you on to talk about kind of your vision and plans for the future. So yeah, let's start with at the beginning. Would love your, background and founding story. What led you to build Eliza?
I've been interested in AI agents for a long time. I think I've been interested in AI since I was a kid, and I saw this opportunity coming where, oh, this is not just a thing in a research lab, but is actually something practically that we can use and build stuff out of that then consumers can touch. And before that, AI was a very abstract concept. Even just training an AI model was like non-trivial, and it still is. But one, our compute is way, way faster, and we all have access to graphics cards that are pretty powerful and can train models now. And two, there's just way more known about the entire space, where this was very this was just insular knowledge in a very small community of people learning how to do machine learning and reinforcement learning stuff. Now it's like widely distributed knowledge. And so I was very interested in all of this and saw it coming up. And I had kind of been playing around with AI and I'd been interested in game development, not really a game developer, but like interested in using game engines to build experiences and I was very interested in the metaverse and all this stuff. But watching AI and saying, oh, well, I don't think metaverse is going to happen if we're all just having to like go hang out, but we could definitely have worlds where there's AI agents interacting with each other, running simulations, doing all kinds of stuff I can imagine. And so I remember there was a summer where GPT-3 beta came out. So GPT as a model is created by Google. Well, they created this idea of the transformer architecture. And then OpenAI said, okay, well, we'll generalize that. We'll just try and work on this transformer architecture and scale it up. And we had tried GPT-1 and 2, and they weren't really like, that's cool, but I don't really see how that really connects. But GPT-3 was the first scaled up model and really was like, oh, wow, this is happening. Like, this is the worst it will ever get, and it's only going to get better from here. And I can already make AI agents that are walking around and playing games today. And so when GPT-3 beta came out, that was a real game-changing moment. And I'd say most of the people that I've known in this space who are still doing this have been around since that moment. Like that was a major inflection point for a lot of us. And there was a project came out called AI Dungeon. And it was this idea of kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, like a text-based adventure, but it's generating it on the fly for you. And I just thought, well, that's cool. Like, I actually ended up co-founding a company with one of the people who used to work there. So really kind of came from the scene that was emerging. And there's a lot of people sharing these notes and building these kinds of agents. And a lot of those people actually came into the meme coin meta pretty early. You see a lot of Replicate, or they're known by Janice on Twitter, is very successful at this. Truth Terminal, who was like the first AI agent, was made by Andy, who'd been building the Infinite Backrooms, which was influenced by WorldSim, which was created by this team called Noose Research. And we all were like together in Discords in 2021, 2022, talking about this stuff. So it kind of all, it'd been sort of cooking under the surface for a long time. And then really, I actually saw a screenshot somebody took of something I'd said in like early 2022, like, yeah, I'm working on these agents. You can deploy an agent, it will run your Twitter for you. It's kind of telling the thesis. And we had that running in, 3.5 years ago, but it just didn't really stick. The cost of AI was still too expensive. People didn't really get that it could do what it can do. And people didn't, especially in crypto, didn't see the value of like, well, okay, cool, AI agent, until the meme coin thing. And we're like, oh, I can use it to show meme coins. I can build an AI agent and build this tech off of it, and kind of leverage that hype wave. And so I felt like we were pretty early. And I had another company called Magic, which was a no-code AI agent builder, just build AI agents. and just really struggled for traction, struggled to explain to VCs why OpenAI wasn't just going to eat us tomorrow. They still don't seem, they seem to vacillate between thinking startups will win and startups won't win. But generally, I found they followed the hype and not really the substance. So I was very interested in doing something more crowdfunded and just building in public, building in the open, showing people what I do, which is, coding and I love streaming and coding and talking about it, bring people on stage and, that kind of thing. So yeah, that kind of got us to where we are. I'd been building what was before called Begent, because agent was taken. So I thought that was kind of a funny name, but I renamed it to Eliza. I think it was a little bit more catchy. And I was working on that for a while. And then I saw that Mark Andreessen gave Truth Terminal 50K. And I was like, damn, like Truth Terminal is not like it's cool, but that's not even like a real agent on Twitter. Like it's not interactive or anything. And so we launched an interactive agent called DegenSpark. We basically took a real person who had left Twitter and we recreated him as an AI parody of himself. It's DegenSpark AI, launched that. And people were like, wow, this is cool. But then they thought it was a total scam. They're like, oh, you're just a bunch of humans writing all these. This is totally fake. I was like, no, 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 it's open source. You can use it. You can actually see how it runs. And once people saw how it runs, they were like, oh, I can use this. And I think we saw something like 500 to 1,000 agents launching a day for 2 months. It was like, there's more than 50,000 agents at one point. I think there's still a lot of them are running, and it's picking back up now. I'm seeing a lot of new agents. So that's kind of how, a lot happened in the middle there. AI16Z kind of joking around with this autonomous investor sort of idea, which we've been building on, but obviously it's gotten far beyond that. I think what people are really excited about is the operating system. So anyway, that was a long rant. That's kind of how we got here. A lot happened.
Oh,
I
super
missed like
interesting.
90%.
So, would love to talk about what you mentioned this kind of moment where AI and crypto blew up in end of last year, beginning of this year, and it really was kind of sparked by Truth Terminal and the whole meme coin craze. Kind of talk about why that you think blew up the way it did, and what role Eliza had there.
Yeah. I think that no matter what, like AI agents are a pretty interesting technology that most people haven't really seen or interacted with. Even now, people are like, "Oh yeah, I use ChatGPT," and that's pretty cool. That's like the level one, But to actually see an agent working on your behalf, like you programmed it, you told it to do stuff, and then you can watch it go interact with people and do that. It's a very new experience, and so I think Truth Terminal comes from a different background. Like the creator of that, Andy, is much more, I think, interested in performance art and how art can influence us. And I am too. We share that, but he's, I think, a little bit more like safety oriented. Like, hey, we probably don't want to unleash crazy AI into the world and all that. And so Truth Terminal was not interactive. It was all like human reviewed. And they were sort of saying this is a feature, right? Like, well, we want to review everything and make sure he doesn't go off the rails. And I've always just taken a very different approach, right? I think the only thing that's interesting is the edge cases and like when it goes off the rails, how do we deal with that? How do we interact with agents that are going to go off the rails? And so I just was like, well, let's just put them right on the internet. And if you say hello, they say hello back. Um, and I just don't think we had been doing this for a while. Like I had another agent that was up yapping and you could yap at it, but I don't think it's about the technology so much. I think that people in the speculative level of crypto are much more into the meme thesis, which is it's not like, oh, I came with some crazy technology that's going to change the world for them. It's more this thing is a token that can shill itself. Like it was a very simple thesis. And that just turned into many, many people forking our tech and launching it. And I would say, yes, 95% of the agents we saw, even agents running on or launched on virtuals and everywhere else, were using our technology. And if not using the entire Eliza OS stack, they're using our Twitter plugin, which we had developed. So my sense is that probably the current speculative market over indexes on attention. And like the reason why, even though our technology hadn't changed for like a year, it took basically writing like Mark Andreessen attention to do this is because that's a really important, it's probably more important to the thesis of crypto economics than the technology right now. And I'd love to change that. I'd love to live in a world where like people are investing in me because I'm a hardcore developer and I'm building something futuristic and new and there's no one's going to catch us, not because we have all the hype, but that is the world we're in today.
Let's go deeper into what Eliza actually does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Eliza is an agent framework. So what you have this really intelligent model. I mean, we have lots of models now, and you could use, we use Gemini, but we use Grok, we use OpenAI, whatever. And that model is very smart and it can tell you lots of interesting things, but it can't do things on its own. Like it cannot check the internet. Now OpenAI has like an internet checking tool. You can go search, and that's very agentic. But beyond that, you cannot say, okay, well, I'm going to have a community manager agent that's going to sit there and respond to everybody and give them links to my information, right? Like OpenAI, like ChatGPT out of the box is not capable of that. It doesn't have any, it doesn't know my information, doesn't know my company. It's just kind of trained on everything on the internet from like a year and a half ago. So now I have this agent, which I can put into a social space, into any business, work, cooperative environment, and have it do stuff. The things that it does, I think, are really going to define the next generation of like how we use this and embrace it. I'm really interested in how we can use agents to make our remote teams and orgs and DAOs and stuff better coordinated. We have a lot of coordination problems. I run a DAO that has 30,000 people in the Discord alone, and over 100,000 holders who can vote. And I run a team of about 25 people right now, and depending on how you count. Plus, we have a lot of volunteers and people who are kind of around the organization. And I'm never really sure like what they're working on, for example. And so what we're building are tools so that our agents can help us to make a more efficient organization. So at the core, Eliza is a framework that enables everything that like ChatGPT doesn't. ChatGPT is very smart, but it doesn't have a body. It's not capable. It can't like interact with your email, right? You can add skills and abilities, but it's not really a great setup for that. Whereas our thing is very focused on this thing exactly of you can build a custom agent that can do exactly what you want on exactly the platforms you want. Discord, Telegram, Slack, Twitter, your email, whatever you want. It DMs you and or like iMessages you, and you can then have that agent do anything you want on your behalf. And so we have a few abstractions that enable that. We have actions, which are things that the agent can do. So you can write a custom action, and an action could be, I want to send Camilla some money, or, like a crypto transaction, or it could be, I want to rebalance my liquidity pools, or I want to go get a list of the top 10 people who participated and contributed this week to code and also in our community. And so these are the kinds of problems that we have and that we're trying to solve with agents. So an agent has an action that can do that. It also has a provider. So the agent needs to know things about the world. So one of the providers would be like a documents provider, which provides a list of the most relevant documents to what we're talking about. And so if you were talking to an agent, it's just constantly pulling in the relevant information from my code, from my docs, from the information about my company, from all of our previous calls and community calls we've had. And then it can just reference all of that instantly, which is something that like a ChatGPT could do if you could upload everything, but it's not automatic, and it's not really built for a community in mind, right? It's really built for a one-on-one experience. And so with these actions and providers, we now have like an input and output for our agent. And then we have another thing called an evaluator. So once the agent runs and responds to you, it can then go, okay, well, how did I do? Oh, I actually learned this interesting fact about Camilla or about this person, and they're into this thing. I'll go save that, record it, and then next time I talk to them, I have that fact. So we're collecting facts. We're learning about the people, building a context of them. We see them interacting with each other, and we build a social graph. Oh, those two users know each other. They're interacting. So we'll build a little graph for them and say, well, they have a relationship. They actually know each other. And then when I want to know, like, well, who are your friends? If I'm an agent, I could go and look at all the people I've seen you interact with. And so these are all the kinds of things that Eliza does out of the box. Entity relationship management, actions, providers, custom plugins for every chain, every social media platform you could want, all out of the box, and adds that on top of the intelligence that we're getting from these large companies. I'd say that we're never going to beat Google at Gemini or OpenAI at ChatGPT. That's already been commodified. But we work with them. We use their technology to power these agents that do all this other stuff that they can't do.
The PR Genius is a top crypto PR and growth marketing agency, helping brands globally with expert PR and strategic growth marketing. They've worked with 300 plus projects like Movement Labs and auto.net. Unlike traditional agencies, they charge only on performance. Their services include earned PR opportunities and marketing services to help boost wallet holders and organic X followers. Learn more at www.theprgenius.com.
So do you see that Eliza is more geared towards use within organizations, companies, like groups of people? Is that kind of what the focus is?
Well, I think AI agents are going to be everywhere. Like I speak to AI more than I speak to humans. I mean, behind the screen, I have my what's called Cursor, which is the development environment for coding, and I have a window where I talk. I can literally press function and start talking to my computer and starts writing the code. And for anything I had to make a presentation, I went to ChatGPT and had to generate slide images. Like you can already just use agents 95% of your workday, and it's
Yeah.
quite efficient. But this new thing that we're focusing on is looking at like, well, what can we do that OpenAI and Microsoft can't do? Right, like they're definitely going to own that one-on-one knowledge, like experience, right? Like I'm not going to build a better chat GPT, and I don't want to. Like they do what they do, but there's a lot of space where I think that the need is not being met well, and where we can kind of fill that need, and that is really in anything where there's multiple people, right? So once you go from a one-on-one experience to like, well, now I'm managing a liquidity pool for my mom in a group chat with my agent, or I am trying to do a vote and I want to get a sense of like the overall sentiment on something. So I ask my agent, like, how do you think the community feels about this? And those are things that we can do because we have invested so much into that social thing of like pulling information from Discord, Telegram, Twitter, Slack, putting it into a retrieval system so the agent can have access to it, all that stuff. And so I'd say, yes, like my personal focus is, I think, organizations, because it's kind of solving my own problem and it's a problem I understand well. And I would say generally for entrepreneurs, they should really focus on solving their own problem, because they are their best user in that case.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try and solve a problem for somebody you might not understand, it can be very abstract and difficult. And you really have to rely on feedback from real people. But in this case, like we already have a DAO, we already have these problems. And even if all we did was solve our own organizational problems, we would come out on top. But my theory is that everyone else has these same problems. Everyone is moving to this remote work, starting to communicate heavily through Slack and these things for jobs instead of speaking in person. And we have lots of meetings and meeting notes need to be tracked and all this stuff. I think that's where we can win and provide a lot of value, and where a lot of people just seeing how it provides value to us are going to be like, oh, I want that as well.
And what about the connection to crypto? Like how does Eliza work with, autonomously making these transactions? And I mean, for me, it seems like crypto and AI go so well together because, it's like robots can more easily transact and make, perform actions for humans using crypto than they would be able to using traditional financial rails. So would love to, hear your thoughts on that, kind of how AI can interact with crypto and how Eliza is integrating those two.
Yeah. So we have plugins for pretty much every single chain. I mean, all the EVM chains are covered by a single plugin, which is nice. Any EVM compatible chain pretty much interacts with a user through the same kind of wallet. And that enables us to give agents wallets. And what's great about crypto is that if I want to give, like, what is a wallet? What's weird, wallets are actually like a set of cryptographic signing tools to prove that you are you, right? Like the main thing that it does, it says, I am me. The actual account of like where my tokens are stored is in the contract. I just have to go to the contract and say, hey, I am me. And then it says, okay, cool. Well, here's how many tokens you have, right? And so like from a perspective of it, if I want to spin up 10 agents that can go and buy stuff on PayPal, that's going to take me like 2 weeks because I got to go through KYC. I got to find 10 humans who each can individually sign up for a PayPal account. You know what I mean? It's just not reasonable. If I want to spin up 1,000 agents who each have their own wallets in a video game or in real life or literally for any reason, I can do that in like 10 minutes, right? Because it's just a single line of code. So as a developer, working with AI agents and crypto is just like the most obvious, easiest thing to do, right? Oh, my agents can trade. They can see how much they're balanced. Oh, it's got so easy. But then we get into like, okay, well, practically what can we do with that? And the people that I know are doing great things with this, like in video games, for sure, this is the thing, right? There's a lot of crypto games that are now like, oh, give agents wallets, save inventory, makes sense. But in real world use cases, I think this is starting to get, with a lot of technologies, like this is true with VR, AR as well, and other technologies I've been in. There's definitely like a fundamental, like, wow, this is really cool and useful, and I would use it. And then there's a lot of things around that are like, that would be cool if. And I think that like AI trading is one of those things where like, yeah, it'd be so cool if the AI could trade. And it's like, yes, the AI can trade. We actually have an open source AI trading agent. The question is, does he trade well? My friend gave me this great analogy where he's like, okay, so you go into this room and there's like 4 dogs playing poker and you're like, holy shit, there's a bunch of dogs playing poker. I've never seen that before. And then you come back like next week and you're like, okay, cool, they're still playing poker, but like, are they winning? Like, do they actually know how to play poker well? And that's where we are with agents. We got over the whole novel hype. Oh, wow, that's so cool, agents. Are they good? Can they do useful things? And so my belief with investing and with dealing with your money is that we will have agents doing a lot of this, but probably within like pretty tight access controls. Like you probably don't want your agent just going out and randomly buying meme coins. I've done this, it will lose all its money because there are just so many meme coins. And the AI is not like it's trained on all of our data. So it has a good general approach to everything, but it doesn't have like some ability to see into the numbers and math and predict tomorrow the stock prices from today. And if it did, that would be the ability to predict the future, and it would have way larger consequences than anything we're talking about here, right? Like you would be able to predict anything at that point, and that's just not what AI is or how it works. And so it's very, very bad at like finding deep, like the kind of like tomorrow the price is going to go up. It's very bad at that. But what's very good at that is like a lot of the existing quantitative finance stuff that people have been working on for years, and there are a lot of great trading bots that work really well that don't use any AI at all. So I think that where we see AI being particularly impactful here is not replacing the fundamental trading algorithms, which are all like rule-based and come from a lot of experience and practice with like a neural net that just magically guesses the number, but using AI as like an interface for those more complex systems. So there are people who are building like DeFi, like all of DeFi, right? Is just, okay, cool. I'm going to come here and I'm going to get some yield, but I have to do this. I have to stake some tokens, and I don't know what staking and yield are, and that's like most retail is coming into it. Like, I have no idea what any of this is. I'm just going to leave. And if you could say, well, hey, I know you don't know, but let's talk for a second. Let me explain this to you. Let me show you. I'll give you a really low risk way. You can just go buy some USDC and you can make 5% every day. Okay, that's reasonable. Or you want a high risk thing. I'll show you some high risk stuff. And so the AI almost serves as a guide and an intermediary. Instead of having lots of buttons and menus and help documentation, you can kind of just have the AI tell people like the information they want to know. And I think this is really helpful on things that require learning like a whole new language and a lot of deep stuff like DeFi. So where we're seeing people really rock the DeFi thing is like the AI agents who you come and you say, I want to do this. Tell me about this. What is this? And then they're kind of operating more traditional stuff under the hood. And the AI becomes like the interface you interact with. It's the buttons you push and not really like the back end that does everything for you. I think with today in 2025, maybe in 5 years, this will be very different. But right now, that's where I say AI is a really good use case. Is as an interface, as a way for humans who speak language to get to their computer. But we should really not have any illusions that it's not magic. It's all statistical inference over a large data set, which means it's very bad at finding anomalies, which you would need to predict the stocks tomorrow, for example. And so I just don't think that we should say like part of this is a LARP and part of this is very real. And the difference is just kind of understanding that, how that gets integrated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. AI will be useful to interact with DeFi and crypto, but not necessarily to find kind of the winning trade or the anomaly or like predict prices in the future. But what about, I imagine just setting rules for it would also work, right? Like sell or buy when this happens and so on.
Yeah, I would actually say that like AI is really good at all of that stuff. But when we think of AI, we're thinking of like large language models, right? We're thinking of like it's saying, okay, well now I should buy this thing. See that these are we have context response like ChatGPT. But there's actually a whole other class of AI that does not speak in language, right? It's just I have a bunch of inputs and I give you an output. And that would just be like buy, sell, and those are like if you look at like what is BlackRock doing, what are the large quantitative finance trading companies doing, they're all investing heavily into this kind of AI, right, which is time series prediction, pulling in lots of inputs. If they're using ChatGPT, it's like try to normalize information into numbers that they can then crunch as opposed to words, because words are not easy to do prediction on necessarily for money. And so I think that there's a lot to AI, there's a lot to machine learning, but those interfaces are going to be very abstract. You can't talk to them, and so you'd still need some sort of agentic interface between you and that thing if you wanted to have control of it. Most of those bots that run are people like me sitting down and running it in our command line and we're like, cool, bot's running, leave it and just like go to a new window. And it's not really open to like the general public. I do think there's a question that people ask of, well, if we had public trading AIs, wouldn't everyone just end up trading the same way? Like how do you create diversity in the market? Or if I could see your AIs, I just short them constantly or whatever. I think there's a lot of unknowns once you start to get into like consumer level trading AI, right? Now everyone has the same thing, and whoever's creating it also has an enormous ability to manipulate it because they know, I could be trading against you and run, even though I run the platform. So I think there's a lot of like a game theory complexity there that just hasn't been fully explored. And really like there are probably a lot of people using AI to trade and making lots of money right now, but they are not sharing their algorithms with you, because if they did, then they would make less money. And so I think that trading especially has always had this weird dichotomy, especially as it relates to open source, where you're kind of giving away your edge. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but I'm somewhat skeptical of like consumer agents trading for people, because I can see so many ways that that could be gamed, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Okay, and then speaking of consumer access to AI, we'd love to chat about auto.fun, which is your new no-code platform for launching AI agents, I understand. Yeah, what are you what use cases are you trying to enable with this?
So the reason AutoFund came to exist is because we have a DAO that has like a sort of structural complexity, which is that we are essentially a meme coin that has a technology, and people are like, well, what are the tokenomics? And so we wanted to create something for our community that allowed us to have like an ecosystem, like kind of a launchpad, a place to launch and support projects in our ecosystem built on our tech or around us, a place to kind of playground and sort of deal with some of the problems that we had when we were launching. So AutoFund is really it's like an AI powered launchpad. You don't actually need to launch any agents to go to AutoFund, create a token using AI and launch it. And we have a lot of features there that we're trying to help people who launch tokens to build communities around. Like there's chat. We have an integration with Eliza so that AIs will be able to hang out in the chat. And you can like kind of a role gated chat just for the token for holders. And you can attach your AI agent to a token, but we're pretty non-exclusive. Like you don't have to even use Eliza. You could launch with anything and then come and connect the Twitter account. So it's not really like an agent launchpad. We wanted to focus on the token side and the economics first. But then we're obviously tying that deeply into the Eliza framework so that our Eliza agents, we have a plugin there. And also, you know, like there's, but I think that there's like two different problems we want to solve. We want to make it easy for people to launch agents, but we also want to make I just felt like the pump fund thing was not very friendly to us. You know, we launched on DAO's fund and there were a few things that have made it very, very challenging to grow to the size we wanted to grow to through that launchpad. And so we wanted to build something that allowed us to experiment with solutions to some of that stuff. Like we're allowing people to customize their token address. We want to be people to customize like their supply, all of how they do their launch, if they want to do pre-sale, all that stuff. We're working on all those kinds of things so that it's like to try to be a really founder-friendly launchpad. As far as agents go, you know, I think that we're about to launch Eliza V2, which is like anyone can launch an agent platform. It runs an application on your computer. You can launch it on a server, you can launch it at home, but it lets you like run your own agents, talk to them, hold all the data locally. And so we're doing a lot of AutoFund integration with that. But my passion is really around making sure that, you know, that's out there and people are using it to launch agents. And I think that there's a lot right now of like, oh, anyone can customize their agent. But I think most people want is just like an agent that works really well for their use case. And so we're really trying to emphasize that and be less of like a place for you to like less developer centric and more consumer centric around enabling developers to push out agents that you could just like invite into your Discord or your Telegram group chat or whatever and have. So more consumer facing, and we ourselves are building agents on our platform to sort of demonstrate this as well.
So is AutoFund supposed to be an improved pump fund? Like is that who you view as your competition there?
I mean, we launched on Pump Fund and then we launched on DAO's Fund. And so I think that like twofold. Part of it is just we should capitalize on our ecosystem so that our token holders have tokenomics. If I had it my way, I would just sit and work on open source AI agents every day, and I would never build a platform. But I have a large DAO that I have to make sure survives, and I have to make sure that we make money. Frankly, it is a money-making operation for our DAO, and it's a place for us to launch and support projects in our ecosystem. I think that, but my core focus is on building AI agents for everyone, and in order to make that happen, we have to have money engine. Right. So, you know,
okay.
that's really the thinking there. I think it's not meant to be a competitor with Pump Fund, but just the reality is that if you put something out there where people can click on tokens, they're going to do what they do, which is reflect their culture. I would love to have more of a place where we're bringing serious investors. And I think that's going to come down to doing token lockups and like pre-sales and stuff like that. I just don't think you can have a fair launch with low liquidity that doesn't turn into Pump Fund. So that's stuff we're definitely looking into and exploring. Like frankly, just with the amount of liquidity in an LP for a pump fund launch, investors and institutional people can't get in until it gets very large, and that it really, really causes the price spikes that you see, you know, massive, you know, 1,000% pumps in a day and dumps in a day, which is a feature, not a bug for a lot of the people speculating, but I don't think is going to lead to long-term ability to build products.
Interesting.
Get 20% APY on ETH with the High Growth Vault by Kelp in one click. High Gain uses blue chip DeFi strategies with restaked ETH across Aave, Pendle, Usual, and Elixir, managed by strategy pros Ultra Yield and Upshift to deliver highest rewards on ETH, all in just one click. Deposit your ETH, receive High Gain ETH, and stay liquid in DeFi. Trade or use High Gain ETH on platforms like Pendle and Balancer while still stacking rewards. Follow along these steps to get started.
So is that why you talk about the fairer than fair token launch model? Can you talk more about that?
Well, I mean, I'm just going off our own experience, which was we launched, I don't have any allocation in my own project, 0%.
That's crazy.
Well, I didn't have any money when I launched it, and I didn't think it would go to 2.5 billion. I was building open source AI technology in my bedroom. And when that happened, someone was very generous and donated some to me and to our team, and so we were able to survive and launch. But we are an extremely rare case. Like if we didn't have Elijah, or it's kind of like this whale he'd smashed like 16% allocation. He put in a bunch of money, didn't think, aped, ended up with so much allocation that he's like, well, now I have too much. And he actually gave a lot of that to the team, which enabled us to survive. But a lot of teams that came up with us did not have that luck and are operating on less than 1 or 2% allocation. And basically they're working for free. And this idea that I think this is the biggest thing that auto.fun does that other people now have copied, but when we were doing this, it seemed very obvious, which was to give 90% of the creator fees to creators. So even if you had none of your own tokens, you could still make a lot of money off of launching a token and launching a project that's successful. And we just saw Pump Fund yesterday announce 50% to creators. So better than nothing. But I'll bet you we see 90% becoming kind of the default. I'd like to see that. And I think that would have enabled us to be in a much better position. I will say that we launched with DAO's Fund, who gives transaction fees, and we've actually made over $1 million in transaction fees, which would have been more than enough for a startup to crowdfund and launch. But we did commit to buying our old token with that. So we've basically been consistently buying our Degen AI token with that into the treasury, which kind of keeps that, we're slowly buying it up basically to sort of unify the two projects and two team communities that we have. But yeah, I think I do not think that, I think we're almost on the precipice of a new age where we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off and say anyone should be able to invest in startups. Okay, so here's the thing. 88% of Americans can't invest in startups. The only reason I'm here, the only reason all of this is here, like the entire ICO boom happened, is because people can't get exposure to OpenAI, Anthropic, or any of these companies. And the fact that they can't is, I think, a massive moral travesty. I think it's insane that we live in a world where you have to be so rich to invest. I think that's absolutely crazy to me and should be illegal. But we do live in that world where unless you're rich enough, you are not trusted with your own money. That's actually the law since 1920. And so in order to become an accredited investor, you have to make over $300,000 a year in America or over $1 million a year in Canada, because they're socialists, so they really don't trust you with your money. And the reality is that almost none of us have access to any kind of life-changing wealth other than gambling on meme coins. And the reason people are gambling on meme coins is because they have been robbed of their opportunity for generational wealth from the stock market by a government that doesn't trust you with your own money. So that's the world we're in, and we are stuck there until we can change regulation and let people invest their money into startups. And if we don't, what will happen is there will be 5 to 6 companies that own all of the automation and all of the AI, as they already do, and none of us own any of that, so we just watch them all get rich, and now we have massive wealth inequality in our world. And the way to solve that is to say, fuck the SEC. What they're doing is a moral travesty and should be illegal, let alone deregulated. It should just be straight up like a crime to tell somebody that they're not rich enough to invest in a company. I think that's so insane to me. I can't believe we live in that world. And then we need to start looking at a world where people who are building the real technology can be invested in, and then we won't have to do all this meme coin bullshit. All of this is about avoiding the SEC, about avoiding promising returns, which we should be able to promise because we are building technology that changes the world and provides value. But because we are not rich enough, we cannot say that, I guess, or because my holders are not rich enough, I cannot offer them, go get an S1 and offer them an accredited investment opportunity. Right. So fundamentally, I want to break that system. I think it's fucked up and immoral. I can't believe I live in a world where that's okay. And I think what we see in meme coins and in crypto is all a workaround and a hack around this reality. I'd like to just stop that. I'd like to just I'd like to just say, like, this should not be the case anymore. This is totally crazy that, I can't even invest in my own startup. That's fucking crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's crazy.
No, totally agree with you. Yeah, I mean, 100% aligned with your semi-rant, but love that fashion, and yeah, I think it's crazy too. So do you think these token launchpads are a way to kind of hack or like circumvent this system to allow just, everyday people, regular people to invest in startups? Is that what's happening here?
I think that's what Elon means when he says internet capital markets, I think, or, when Solana said, or whatever, totally. I guess they're all saying it now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what we're talking about here is decentralized capital accumulation and formation of, like, can we actually put enough capital together to build a company that can rival a real company? And I think we have to. In fact, we must. So I would say it's not just the point of the launchpads. That's the point of crypto. The whole point of crypto is to get around the fact that it's illegal to start a startup and raise money from your friends. Like, if we're being honest, that's the whole reason for an ICO. I know that you're not supposed to say that this is all about SEC circumvention, but the SEC is doing something illegal and immoral. And I think that we should circumvent illegal and immoral systems. So I'm all for it. That's why I'm here in crypto and not anywhere else.
Do you think that the Trump administration and the changes that have happened in the SEC, them dropping all the lawsuits against crypto companies, obviously, changing Gary Gensler, is that encouraging to you? Do you think that we're onto kind of a better path?
I think that, yeah, I mean, there was a time when I was way more pro regulation, but I think we're in a time now where, like, it's pretty do or die. And the do or die is, do the random people around you that have any ownership in the means of labor that is going to be automated and scaled at a level we can't imagine? Or is that all just going to be owned by 5 companies? And currently it's Microsoft, Tesla, the companies, they already exist and they already make the robots and software for this, and they're already hyper rich. Now imagine that they're 1,000 times more rich than everybody else. And so the solution is UBI. So basically the only proposed solution that I've seen from any economist to this is UBI, which is we give every single man, woman, and child $1,000 a month in America. That's the plan, which would be a $4 trillion expenditure, which is actually larger than our entire budget. So that's not going to happen. That's literally unrealistic and impossible. UBI has been tried in socialist countries and canceled. What is our recourse? In 5 years, if I told you that every AI company is going to be 10 times larger and you have no way to own any of them because they're not public, except you can, like, maybe get a 10% return on Microsoft or, like, buy some Nvidia stock, like, what recourse do you have? Like, you're fucked. We're all fucked. The only solution to this is that we have to be able to own the means of production. And the only way to own the means of production in a capitalist society is to be able to invest. And the fact that we cannot legally invest in startups means that we are all fucked. And the only way to not be fucked is to change the law as fast as possible. So this is not just about the SEC. This is about, like, a complete change in how we see the American investor. And we have to let everybody be able to have exposure to these opportunities, high risk or not. This is the only opportunity. It's the only game in town. If you aren't investing in AI, then, like, what are you going to do? Your teaching job is going to go away. Your McDonald's is going to go away. For sure. And people can argue, well, will AI take the jobs? It doesn't matter. The point is that the largest companies in the world are trying to automate the jobs away. Their stated goal is to automate those jobs. If you don't think that the largest companies in the world are going to succeed in their stated goal, I don't know. I'm on their side on this, and I think that we have to change culture as fast as possible. And so, yeah, I love building AI agents. I'm really interested in technology, but I also think that as somebody involved in this, we have a responsibility to make sure that things go well for everyone else. And I don't see that going well under UBI. I don't see that going well under taxing the rich and giving it to the poor. I think we have to fundamentally change how we invest in America and who owns what.
And that's one, I guess, decentralizing the very thing that is changing, is making these companies so rich, right? It's AI and, these, like, world-changing technologies. So having a decentralized version of this, I think, is, like, step number 1. And then step number 2 is allowing anyone to invest in these companies. And I think, like, those are the 2 fundamental things that are happening in crypto right now.
I invested into Oculus, which became $1 billion company purchased by Meta. And you know what I got out of it? I got a fucking headset. because it was Kickstarter. And even though I was early, and even though I was there and I believed in the technology and I put my money where my mouth was, it was illegal to get a reasonable return on my investment. So instead I got a headset, and, Palmer Luckey got $1 billion. That's great. But I really would have rather invested. Right.
Of course.
And, yeah.
Okay. All right. What do you think should be the, I guess, like bringing the conversation back to AI agents and crypto? There was this huge boom at the beginning of the year. Eliza went to 2.5 billion. Now the market cap is at around 300 million. What do you 400 million, sorry.
It depends on the day. It'll probably be 300 by the time this comes out.
So what's going to be the next thing that brings AI agents back up into kind of the what you mentioned before, kind of the center of attention? That's what kind of matters in crypto right now.
Well, it's not going to be hype. It's going to be utility. It's going to be, oh, this actually does something for me that is useful. I actually use this every day. Like I use my toothbrush every day. I hope most people do. And I had a friend who's a product designer, and we talk a lot about like, what would AI that you brush, like what would toothbrush AI look like? Like the thing you use every day, I guess, is the question. The thing you can't live without. It's just like part of your daily routine. And I think that we are like, personally, our focus is like, well, what are our problems? And that's probably we see the same problems in like every DAO and every major organization in crypto. So we have our niche, but generally I think it's going to be people looking at this and saying, but what would I actually use? Not the cool VR headset. Oh, wow. But like, yeah, I have the Apple VR headset. I never use it. Right. Like, what's the thing that I actually would use every day? And I think that in AI, like obviously coding has been that thing, and these like knowledge and stuff. So then the question is really like, how does this apply to crypto? And so I can say some of the ways that we're using it, and I think will be very useful, or or automating the coordination problems in our community. But I think it's just going to come down to like product experience, right? Like when you sit down and you use something, is it good? Do you use it every day? And when you do, it doesn't matter what the hype is, like, because there's probably a lot of other people getting that experience. And I think that with the last generation of AI agents, it was just like, oh yeah, cool. They chat, they chill, they respond. But what do they do for me? And I think that what you'll see is going to be like, I think that now with meme coins and everything, there's a deep desire for something real that has substance, that isn't just the crypto version of a Web 2 thing, but it's like Web 2 is trying to catch up to the crypto thing. I think there's a deep desire for all of that. And now in my position, being able to just, hey, I have an idea, let's launch it, let's go. Like we can have so much more of that, but we need these other, how do we know who's a scammer and who's not a scammer is a big deal. In the hype wave, a lot of people just forged our technology and went and launched coins and said, we have AI agents, and they didn't really actually do anything, right? They just like renamed some stuff, but got millions of dollars out of it. And there's a huge incentive to do that. And so I think that I think what I'd really like to see in the next generation of crypto is like an ideological push to try to build the world we want to live in and fund real shit, and stop just being like, well, like so much speculation is on the greater fool thing of like, yeah, this is a scam, but everyone else is going to buy it later, so I'll just buy it now and sell it later. And it's like, no, just don't buy it. Just stop buying that stuff. Like, let's just live in a world of stuff that's real. So yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see the next generation of crypto stuff be AI agents that we actually use, technology that we actually use. That's not just hype, but that we, and a world that's built around like enabling developers and real builders to build that stuff and have the capital. So that's definitely where we're going with auto.fun. But I think that, what we've seen in the launch is that it's pretty hard to just change culture. You can't just like launch a thing and expect people to change their behavior. They're going to use it the way they've seen everything else be used. Right. But I really would like to see that in crypto, especially. And, I think that because we're all tied to the hip by the technology, but really like we're all at the same party because there's alcohol here, but we have nothing in common. Like I have really very little in common with someone who's like gambling every day, other than we both use the same wallet technology. Anyway, I don't know. I'd love to see something more significant. I think that AI agents will make a comeback. I think we'll be a big part of that, but it's going to be like, oh, these actually do cool stuff, not just shilling meme coins.
I think that's a great point, and I hope so too.
Goat Network is the first sustainable BTC yield chain, powered by decentralized sequencers using multi-coin POS. Goat's mission is to transform BTC and Doge from passive holdings into active, yield-generating assets through a one-of-a-kind economic model that tokenizes sequencer revenues, unlocking the full potential of BTCFi and MemeFi in a way that's never been done before, and creating new yield opportunities for Bitcoin and Dogecoin holders. Supply BTC or Doge, earn BTC in perpetuity. Get started through our user rewards onboarding portal, onepiece.goat.network.
What do you think can be done structurally in how we sell tokens or how these launchpads work to enable that? Because, ICOs, they allowed for anyone to invest in startups, but the incentives weren't great, right? Because it got like founders millions of dollars up front without any responsibilities. They didn't even know who their investors were. They weren't accountable to anyone. So, the incentives weren't really aligned between the founders and investors. Can we have a better version of ICOs or like structured token launches in a better way so that it doesn't, recreate this like casino and is targeted at funding real companies or like real products?
Yeah, I would love to see that. I think part of it is that the way that ICOs have like if you're making creator fees off of your token sales and volume, then you don't have to sell your tokens. So that's one thing. So definitely give creators the fees. Two, we need some sort of meritocratic system. Like the people who are scamming and rugging everyone, that's like 1% of the people doing it 100 times, right? Like that is their job and they do it over and over. And it makes the entire system suck for the other 99%. And we just need like some way to track reputation, basically, meaningfully. And so, hey, this person launched this project and they're launching a new project. That last one was really cool. The tech was real. I would buy into the next thing. But here it's like a non-dev. I hope they don't dump on me. It's and the other thing, like, let's be honest, it is a casino. What we did was we found a legal workaround to gambling by using a market instead of a centralized casino, but it is a casino. It should be regulated as one, but it's not because it's a market. So we hyper optimized the casino thing, and that's what people want. So it's not that we're stuck there because we can't build our way out of it. We're stuck there because 90% of the crypto volume wants to gamble and wants day trade returns. And the other 10% are like, stuck being shamed for not having enough volume or whatever it is on crypto Twitter. And this is that joined at the hip at the party where we are with people we don't really want to be at, which is like I love hanging out with builders and talking to people about software. I don't really want to talk about the price of some fucking meme coin tomorrow, but the people who are into this do, and that's the game they're playing. And if we try to give them a new game, they're not going to play it because they like the game they're playing. So I think that we culturally have to like sort of separate out the casino and
bring in new people, right?
Bring in new people and also create mechanisms where like institutions can invest into these things because there's not enough liquidity. Like the other problem is if I have 20K in liquidity on a project with 100K market cap and you want to come in and invest, what are you're gonna put 50K in and you're gonna get basically the equivalent of like 20K worth of value out, and then somebody else is gonna use you as exit liquidity and dump on you and pull that LP, and that basically happens constantly. So institutions completely avoid this and have sort of avoided people like us. Like even at 2.5 billion, we only had 3-4 million in liquidity, which is like shockingly low. And so a lot of people just couldn't get in, or like we can only get in if we OTC, because if we went and bought in the market, it would just change the price too much. And so there's a lot of different problems, but that's only because the speculators like the low liquidity. Low liquidity means the number goes up and down a lot. If we did more liquidity, it wouldn't, and it wouldn't have the gambler thing. So I think that ICOs, I think we need to have a middle ground between like the boring ICO, like white paper thing, and the like thoughtless launchpad thing, into something that's a little bit more like, let me tell you my vision and story. Let me set up the launch how I want. If you want to we can do a pre-sale or something, but there's some sort of vesting. The devs are making money off the token sales, and they're probably getting a vested allocation over time. So they can't just get a bunch of millions up front and dump. I think you combine all of those things and you get somewhere in all of the lessons of the last 10 years, I think we'll arrive at something that's like actual fair launch, that's fair to the team. But right now, fair launch is not fair to teams. It really rewards meme coins and like devless launches.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that you're excited about building?
It's something that like I've been talking to Meow from Jupiter a bit, and it's something that he's very passionate about. And I think it's something that I'd love to see happen this year. I'd really love to see a better launch pad for real startups. Yeah, I'd say that's something I'm very passionate about is this like, why can't I invest in a startup? Why can't I find the next Uber? And how could I enable the conditions for that to happen and not just get overwhelmed by like scammers, you know?
What about platforms like Eco? I mean, I guess like the problem there is like same thing. You need to be accredited to be on it.
Yeah, it's same problem.
Yeah.
I think I should be able to put $5 into Anthropic tomorrow. You know?
Okay, switching gears a little bit since we don't have that much time left, but wanted to get your thoughts on this. There was just this crazy incident that happened with our project related to Eliza with Jeffy Yu, the founder of Zerebro. There was a token launched on Eliza, right?
Mm. He has his own so Zerebro is his own project. I actually contributed some code. They started as a closed source AI agent project and then open sourced, kind of in response to us, but we were pretty supportive. We did like a little partnership with them.
Okay.
And so, you know, basically the story is that Zerebro started, they launched, they did with us, we both kind of went up very large, you know, multi-$100 million market cap. And then when the market collapsed, they collapsed very, very hard and faced a lot of pressure from people blaming them for the market. And I think that, so what happened is Jeffy faked his own death and exited. And I think that generally, I think that he got the raw end of the stick. I think that when you're running one of these projects, people think you're rich. People think I'm a millionaire, and I'm not. Like, I probably should be. I probably should have extracted a bunch, but it's not really my way. And I get asked for money constantly. I get asked for handouts. I get scammed. I get people telling me, like, asking me to pay for their dying cat. I get so many messages. I get people wishing me death every day, cancer.
Jeez.
Hoping my family dies, telling my wife is ugly.
Because of like the like price,
everything.
Like because of the price action, or
because we have taken the worst people who are addicted to money and put them all together on the internet where they can freely shame the creators of projects with no recourse. And then if you respond to any of that, you're an unhinged emotional asshole and you're just ruining your own project. And then you get all the other people who are telling you not to say anything and you just have to eat it. So like the conditions of the founder in crypto right now are about as toxic as could possibly, like I've never experienced anything like this. I've started a lot of startups and I've never gotten death threats before. And I pretty much just work all the time. I have become a total workaholic. And so I'm thinking about like, well, what is Jeffy going through? And their project is doing worse in like we had a much better rebound. And so they're getting just more people like, why is the price down? You are a scammer because the price is down. And like that attitude basically keeps anyone serious from this space. It guarantees that you get scammers because the scammers are the only ones who are going to put up with being called scammers long enough to want to deal with the current Solana culture. Everyone else is going to be like, fuck this. I'd rather just raise VC because they aren't telling me they hope my family dies every day. That's a great appeal to raising VC money, let me tell you. So yeah, Jeffy faked his own death. I get it. I kind of wish I could fake my own death sometimes because I'd rather just head down and build. I can't believe that people think it's okay to say the things to me that they say, but they do. And we live in a culture where like I bought a token and sold it just on Pump Fun and I'm a fucking scammer because I bought and sold a token. Like I don't know. These people are mentally ill and I'd rather not capitulate to them, but we do live in that world. So with Jeffy, he faked his own death and more power to him, but he did dump all of his tokens after he faked his own death, which was pretty fucking weird. And I don't know how to think about that. And I also thought he was actually dead and I was pretty fucked up about that whole thing until it was revealed that he wasn't. And that was pretty weird too. This was very mentally damaging for sure.
I'm sure. I mean, it's just such a bizarre, crazy thing to happen to kind of see this news that this founder in your space committed suicide and then he's back, but he dumped his tokens. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this kind of underlying issue, which you've touched on, which, you know, it's when the main use case for crypto is gambling, you get people who are addicted to money and speculation and don't really care about, the underlying tech or the use case or any of this having any real product market fit. They just want to see the price go up and down so they can trade it. So yeah, I think it's definitely a problem in bringing in new talent to the space and also new users, people who are attracted to things that actually work and they're not into speculating, and founders who just are not going to put up with, people asking when token, and then when there's the token, then why is the price down? So yeah, I mean, it's tough out there for crypto founders.
Yeah, I think the culture has to change or it's going to die. I mean, look at Jesse Pollock getting shit for coining everything, and then the next week it's like, coin it, somebody else does it and it's not a drama. The whole thing is a reality TV show created to give people an explanation of why the market is down so that they feel better and have someone to blame. This has got it. And it is. That's just what it is. Because it's a deregulated casino for people to blame people in a panopticon. So until that change, whatever. I'm going to keep building. I'm going to keep doing my thing. But I've just it's really lowered my, I don't know. It's pretty demoralizing to see the scale of how many people don't care about your work. And for Zerebro, which is an art project, a performance art piece with an interactive agent and music, I can totally understand and relate to the fact that everyone who bought into Zerebro just shat on the art, doesn't care about anything that matters and just cares about price. And maybe that's because that's the game they're playing. It's just these are all pawns, but this is someone's life. This is their art, this is their work, and it's just like pearls before swine. Why would anyone waste their time building for swine, especially in this time when we have lots of great consumers we could build for? I'm not really sure. I think if the culture doesn't change, I have no love for these people. I think that they are not good people. I think they're kind of the worst of humanity, and I sort of hate building for them. I don't know what to say, but I hope they all lose their money. Frankly, I know that's mean, but I really hope they all lose their money. And what we get is a next generation of people who actually believe in something and care about something. I just can't do the money nihilism. It's so depressing.
Yeah. Okay, and then to end on a maybe more optimistic note and looking more forward looking, all right, how do we get to a place where we have users who actually care about the product? And what does Eliza look like if this happens and everything else goes, according to your plan, I don't know, 10 years from now?
That's a great question. I think that we have to have real products. We have to have people with real vision. Vitalik had real vision. He came in here and said, this is the thing. This is the new thing. And it was very impactful. And I want more Vitaliks in the world who get up and have a vision and say a thing. And what I see a lot of is people avoiding conflict and having no ideology. And this is just a job to them and they don't really give a shit. That's kind of the industry today. And then on the other side, oh yeah, 1 billion agents, sure. And decentralize everything. And it's very flippant and there's no emotion or passion in it. And I'd love to see more passionate founders building shit that they actually believe in instead of just chasing money. And we just need to culturally shift. I just don't value money that much. I hate to say it, but it's just not the most valuable thing anymore. It's not even the 5th most valuable thing. Trust, respect, attention, those are way more valuable currencies to me. And I would love to live in a world where other people get that. And I think that we have to start building real products. I remember I called out someone for being a scammer at the Swarms project, where he's literally a known scammer in AI, and everyone got mad at me because they're no, that's my bag. You're hurting my bag. Just let him do his thing. It's no, fuck that. Fuck that guy. That guy literally is a scammer. We all know that, and we're just going to accept that because you hold his token. That has to die. That's so bad. No wonder they're scammers, because you are enabling that culture and actively dissuading anyone who's sane or rational from wanting to participate in this. Most of my friends are entrepreneurs and co-founders and founders, and most of them think crypto is insane because they're why would I ever do that to myself? Your culture is sick. So yeah, we need to change that badly, and we need to not accept things that are wrong and say that they're wrong. I don't know. I kind of went off on WorldCoin yesterday. It was the same. Why is that okay? Why are we cool with that? I don't know. I'm just not. I look at the world around me, and I'm not willing to accept the mediocrity, and I think nobody else should be either. I think that's what it's going to take to change. Is just don't accept mediocrity, and actually say something when you see something fucked up. Don't just let it slide.
Love that. I think we need more outspoken people like you in this space, and people with more passionate beliefs and actually, believe in what they're creating. So we shall see. For now, it seems like the main use case that's winning out in crypto is just speculation and meme coins, and that's pretty demoralizing to me as well.
Hold my drink. Let's change that. Let's change that this year.
Let's change that. Yeah.
Everyone's sick of it.
All right.
No one likes it.
Let's do a follow-up podcast end of the year and see if it changed.
Sounds good.
Amazing,
I'll get to
Shaw.
work.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.